been turned into a prayer center instead of an avenue where job seekers converge to search for jobs. The Kumasi Metropolitan Office, which is a public and youth employment center and also accommodates the offices of the testing division of the National Vocational Training Institute, NVTI, is now the church auditorium of a one-man church known as the Gentle Ministry and headed by prophetess Mainbrim Akoka Rosina. Efia.
I was here for the Chronicle, the Bokratania de Eshas and a catafetos miensa and
Efia Joa Home na Charles Nigeria bana onisa catafetos miensa no ganja boys in Indian in Frimo Emma. Charles Mache
Mejodo Munivisia
and Pomwe
Yamia Dumo was over the name.
Yamia Dome Hoye pa. And so I no pay the ATF Potamonum no, and yet de Edian the sea, what's in the saying Asakai Odien.
Yo, ya ide yabakade asakai ye inara say ye buyene nwahwe yen echira yabakade asakai last year honomuno oye demukro yara na last year honomu yabakade kundum festival ma police fo kwache onhini bi e ohode na walkakade onyido di festival mo kwache na oye nsensem bebre onhini so bebe yi na anan demukro ne yara ka hwasame na ya last week one mun na UTV yenya nte de what say wa bro bu seje ni bi e wa sakai na samno ma yenye din kan yete no na oyokwa akwaye de waso ganja boys obi bese shiwi fu ibi na wone soja fu ibi kwa she ghetto wore shi wo wi nti wi shi no mun na ambe chacha ne sikasem bi so bebem obebem na ode pinkem bi ba nti pinkem no mun na ganja boys what we say so gene na do wotwitwa no wokun later na yesan yete bio tabaya last week by 2 days bi yete do what so gene no na girl bi ni phone nsambi na okwa de okwa akohwe boys na waji dem phone e di girl ni nsem no muna boys so wire then watching wokun yet bio na what the curfew na de what atoto oye asaka ekrom ho a wo makwana ma boys na de no wire then won ko bebiara na de ekrom ho fo no after by 6 onyi de ekọ bebiara ma hin no akọ 2 bn oye second battalion ho akọ akapachew and pay na yene Olivia kase asemi pepe that was so je no sabi wotwitwa no wewu ma nsama wa bani ma so ja fanyu abre papa wa asake ho ma ye twin bin oye Olivia ono na oye PRO ma police for ye wo western region ha ye twin pin na ye bi send o ma me Olivia sama ya tin there there's a chronicle paper na confirm there oye so jenyi bia wetwitwa no no ese why then confirmation about the wetwitwa obi Rotterdam nti ya twemba no so the masemi no so waboto nenim nambom asam no edi oya kwesimintim police command ensem intinala afro police command o kwesimintim ebisan ma o chirede ampa obi be man information there oya asake asama why then we si hwani inti onwanara nkasa waye de am da obotu ho na ma wa hwehwem wo hu oye emu no oye efun na wala kade we kuno e wa asaka e oye sojene no wo hu obiara otedam de we ku obi wa asaka bio wonye oye 2 billion na force fo na de edi nkomo do bibi da mesi e wo ho a wonyimpa bi efima na wonyimpa bi ko kroma ombe ya no so Olivia amayata aside bibi da menye den onsi nti asam na today okonkon ho de ma enya yete no boys ni bi waraka the police for ankasa so wo confirm a won hwehwema wa ye chede adon re kwa kwaye de oye rumor de bibi otedam esi wo asaka airport no bibi otedam ni nsi nti oguda a wo ye hwehwem information na wan sakan na mbom ho wa akokrom ho won hu funi biara so far wako various military barracks no so wako ha mpanyimfo a wo so akade bibia otedam yeden onsi wo ho nti ya asam na other chronicle n'enyim no na ma ne police fo ana stakeholders kasa no wa ma ya tanse de bibi otedam yede onsi
Mo Charles yebeda se papa bibia ni afawani di akire da chibia yebesan aba abusua Charles agi amanibo ene yekotie ye nti we di afia chasa yi yi no aha enti enye kumase de
yo abusua for the chronicle the bokrata ne de esha se katafa tosmiensan ene yedemo aircraw na katafa tosmiensan kro no public employment center eho yasoya se mebu no epadwuma eho no mudo mani kire na no ehye labor department ase ewo asoye ehwe enwuma na afa apade ensam so na akokumase a wonom eben labor runabout hopa ewo asafo eye kumase na amanebo no ekire mu a eho no se di adane prayer center eho na se ye bom paya te se nya asam ketwa ni se mebu no epadwuma ya wo muntimi fo mo ni nkire wo biem esan se ho no adane empaibo fie a woi eyade a ekoso honom na amanebo no ekire mu a wo se no wukọ ho a testing division National Vocational Training Institute one so wo mo ni sa office no anampo mo sa office where bi na se die wo mu nyina no mo nya adwuma esanse de honom no aye prayer center achesa sorry na wo honom no ni di the gentle ministry nipo oda no aye odifo ba Mitbrim akoka Rosina no si adwadifo no wonom de ho amanebo ato asafo labor aye runabout mpanyifo ni na so no entumi enkosi aganam so amba chronicle ensamtrofo de ho amane aba ne katafa etoso miensa
Moyenfa Daily Graphic, pedestrians in danger, naked live wires portend electrocutions. Pedestrians in Accra are at risk of suffering electrocution as a number of street light poles in the capital have their wires exposed. Children particularly are at the greatest risk using the walkways. A number of the poles have their joint wires that connect power from the underground mains to the poles dangling outside the galvanized poles. In April this year, the Daily Graphic undertook a fact-finding visit to some parts of the national capital and gathered that many cables were hanging out of the poles. A good number of the wires which were covered with sellotape and others that were naked, according to some residents, had remained unattended to for months. The Daily Graphic also observed that some of the laths covering the wire joints were missing, while in some cases the sellotape used to insulate the wires had been removed, exposing the live wires. The exposed wires and broken junction boxes have been blamed on lack of maintenance and persistent theft of copper cables and the metal covers that hold the cables inside the light pole pipes. There are about 40,000 street light poles, mainly wooden and galvanized ones, under the jurisdiction of the AMA.
I was for Daily Graphic the Bokata no and I day was so na katafa tos miensa so what shall see every crater name a front page one no. Na no dia to just say the answer enkra nipa dodo no electric make kiwo mu ye pa ameno so akofa sam kese ba titru ene woni adane da wonom enam fom eko nwuma eso no wo chese say the school fo nko dampo ena asemi ababa ya hometi sam kese e dia ma o misan se edu anopa school fo nko da so mo na mountain so ekwa ho eko school ani ni nyina ne say street light post na sisi e mountain so ekwa ho no ho wires no say ni nyina pie ena chese bom from maseyai ho awuro ni sense no sa akoda bi kura twam na so wanya hweye na ne ho kotare sa wo ya na ho nyina pie no ho a ahwe de asem kese ba bekiki no amene no akwakofa o haw kese pa de aba na o kira wires no ana post no wo joint wires no uze no na connect power no na sa power no ni dudo no afri underground the form honom no na so abrakusam ne se ni nyina no chese ho pie ne nam ho sa na Daily Graphic some trouble wo aprobom na kofa sansem we nyina baaye na no eno mo atoaso dia to dwa say wires no ebu okwa ne ti no etutu ayira ne sense no ye de solid tape krampo na achechechechire na solid tape no so no ebu ono ma asakra wawai ade afiri honom achese ni nyina no wire no ho da hosa ne nsuo tutoi se mpanyifo anhwe ye na so mo anye ho adwuma eno no enkofa sempa eba na no na ebinim ade ato dwa say wires no e wosenkaja empanyefo mu oni kwa hu ye pa na kwa mu ye maintenance no mu siesi na so ni nyina no enkoba ne saa enu nti na ma sese die ase ehu apiepie a chese nkrofo nam ho adekye ne adesen bia no ne no no kyerese ebirum so kyerese wia wo yeso ye de bia ye wia kopa cables ni ye wia ne adade ni nyina agina maintenance empanyefo nye sanse wo mu ta akọ ho a enke wia agya nkomani beba ho ameno no wo mu atumi atobia hyem na de eho awawai na esensen ho na no no anhwe bekiki nkrofo no so wo mu atumi ahwe na so no daily graphics am trofo kyerese ni nyina no ye gya no empanyefo atwi wani ene wo honom saa na wo de atodwa se wo ma mo mani anko ho a yenti asem de ewo ho
Yanko page 16 we wo maya de wo mahu na so nya de obi en beko afi o mu twam ko be o mu to mu ye
ye hu pa
o mu ko redeemeters na so o mu ko gigi scan na so o mu se no every bi o mu sheda o na nungwa say o mu se o mu the meters so se prepaid meters no ekobo nkrofo fia se o mu se nkrofo ye ni bibi o se o mu so o mu joso no so o mu de be bo abonti menu so nkrofo ehun demonstration se nkania ni dum na anadwo da som or the power ekwa kogu so a risky dangerous mo da o man ti ase so beka amanfo ye demonstration papa po baako na meters be se 5 6 na ebo ho ti bi o ho na eja atom sa na ase akwa aba be yi ni ti o kwan foforo so yi why se no na ededa abontin ensuo yi toyi se kogu so akoda bi gina ho a woni mo de oni se bi gina po ho okosom kra kofa asemaba so page 16 daily graphic. I've not seen any MOU corner of Menya Krobo. The corner of Menya Krobo traditional area Nene Sakite II has stated that there is no agreement to show that residents of the area are exempted from the payment of electricity bills. According to him, no memorandum of understanding MOU nor any other documentary proof existed to that effect since the period of the First Republic. He made the point when the Eastern Regional Minister, Mr. Eric Kwachedafo, his deputy, Mr. Samuel Nwete Aite, the Eastern Regional Police Commander, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Edu Amankwa, and other officials of the region visited him at his palace in Krobo Dumase yesterday in the aftermath of last Wednesday's violence that led to the death of one person and injured 7 others. Man heads for court over EC's online registration. A Ghanaian based in Daboya in the Savannah region has dragged the EC to the Supreme Court over its decision to allow online registration in the limited registration exercise. The plaintiff, Umar Ayuba, says the decision has not been provided for in law. He is also arguing that the EC's decision on online registration is discriminatory to first-time voters and rural people. A former Deputy Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Aine, is representing the plaintiff. The suit filed at the registry of the Supreme Court in Accra yesterday has the AG as the first defendant. And then Efia paid 20 states. Stonebwoy Shatawale banned indefinitely from VGMA. 2 of Ghana's topmost musicians, Stonebwoy and Shatawale, have been banned indefinitely from the VGMA. At a press conference held by Charterhouse at the Elisa Hotel yesterday, a member of the VGMA board, Amanziba, said the decision was taken at a board meeting last Tuesday. He said the board of the 2019 Vodafone Ghana Music Awards decided to sanction the 2 because it considered the actions of Shatawale and Stonebwoy a blatant disregard for the terms and conditions of the scheme, and also for bringing the name of the event into disrepute. Under the circumstances, he said the 2 had been penalized as follows. Both musicians are hereby banned indefinitely from participating in the nominations, selections, and performances of the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards. The 2 artists are also hereby stripped of all the awards they won at the 20th VGMA and are thus requested by the board to return all prizes in their possession to Charterhouse immediately. Sister,
yo,
inti die kosi ya no.
Anya abusuan for daily graphic Democrat no na ye wo mu na any kan sha sem free katafan to so aduonu ensia de ya ken kan sesia no and no Ghana Music Awards Vodafone Ghana Music Awards here course yi enyina enim de si Shatawale na Stone Boy kwape preso honom ko wiase ye Stone Boy kura ko twintuo me ho nsensem be deja wo memu a ye kura ye nkan wieye na no na esese de Vodafone Ghana Music Awards mpanyufo wonom e de ababetu dwa Charter House wonom afre ehu o ma ye hu semtwerefo nhyiamu wa Lisa Hotel ekwa wiase hu de tu dwa se wo mutumadi a wodi nyina na yade a embra ebo achidom ni sent ne kwan bia so wo se embrantie mienu otimi atwe wonom aso na so twa ode mo omo no eye board no panyin baako amanzeba wode atodwa se we board meeting no na omokoye ye no omo esi sa gina yesa na asotwam de mo omo nyina ne se no eye Vodafone Ghana Music Awards nya de ombema kwan ama Shatawale na afin Stone Boy won ma begina mu bie mu se ye nominate wa mo kra performance no so krampo nya de a ye be mo ma ba be ye bi eno achi no de to dwa se award a omoje ye no yesaje de omaje dada ni de wo nyina no ye de ama mfofo nyina no yesaje a we ene asotwe a wo de
omaje no afi de no me da no so mu di kan obi adi kan jimienu dada aha na ye se ebi so san ka akire enu nanka said the chairman general MC of the night ma ye ti ase baako beko baako nti enu no ye nya mfama ena mienu na obi age ye no obi ansan famila ti afi de wo ma nya hwe
ili anode
o ti ado de o
aha wo ma nya hwe ya fi ye je ye no de mo no ya je tutu no so ye so mo san famra aje se we ene de daily graphic ensem trofo wonom de abakatafa eto so aduonu ensia na katafa eto so edu ensia enso ene edemo ekro na kono ono ewo menya krobo traditional area nene sakite otoso mienu wono ena ekasai na wode atodwa se apambie ni wonom a ekire se adehia wonom menya krobo yayi wo mafiri nkane atuamu light betua yayi wo mafiri mu ochese ono no apambie ni honom efiri kwa be nkono apenso no yenya apambie anto ho ese adehia wonom menya krobo eni kwanse omu etua light bay eno eni asema wode atodwa na ochese na adehia ni bi ahyase de kase eye kwa be nkono apenso no wo sheda eno omu yentiase apam memorandum of understanding say eni kwanse wo mu etua enkanea eto adampo light brain ni kwaso mutua bi enam so amasese no yesi PDF fofo wonom ed PDS wo mode enkane aka ekoma menya krobadehye a omse twia kai na wo wunti de da ho ya de ne ye document bi da ho apam bi da ho se ni kwanse etua enkane aka wo nomse da bi ni se da bi a PDS for de enkane kabako mo bia na adane ntokwane mentem wase na no enana SCP ade a che na dehye se da bi da entesa wono betina adwaso so wo hini wo hu sa document bia wo hu se kwa menkroma ya pam bia de ato ho se eni kwanse na de hye no wo mutua nkane aka ne senti efi na ekro no se PDS fo ede nkane aka ebre wo mu a wo mu ensom twetwe na afi wonum entua se de be ya ebetumi ade asomdwe aba na sansem beto odwa abra apoe mantam soafo owura Eric Kwachi dufo woni na bedi akire owura Samuel ayite na afi Eastern Regional Police Command a woni Commissioner of Police owura edu amankwa eni panyifo nkaye wonom ekọ nana ahimfie honom ekochia no kama na ni nyina no wochese nanu kwada mentim wase ntukwa bi asore ye kwowiase enipa baako efa mu hwe ne nkwama enipa besa nsonso prepraye no enu hu ntina panyifo kọ nana ho no mkoto ato ho adwe na nagina so de sankanea sikai anampo enkanea ho masotwe ekoso na dehye eni PDS fo entami enso etudwa
enti amabru no sa agreement no muko hu no we na wono ti akonwa so se ye agreement bia ze ni ho frida da wo yesa tadie afi na wo ma ba be hu se sa ba wutie other side so ayese wo man kase sa ade no ayese se ye postpaid e na se na bill no se nko se na ekoso na wo mutwi wo manu enti benfie mi se wo matua benfie miensa na mienu ni 2017 ya na ayesa afi akam ti ho na ese busa se what happened na bill ne nko ana se na ekọ na wo nso buru omo ni guso cause mutua na ebedum finfini na emfie mienu afi aburo guso sikatua so de head say we you su de na so wo yi sika bu akotua na ya ase eno na ama wo ma yese mo ma ye bre ni entua PDS for so say ade nkane amo yi su no mfie mienu de baby
ma brand wakutu
aha en wo mugusu o mokeka nwie ntini amabunu de na na ese no se mo ma agreement bi ana na hu ye de a ebe enwa bate ne mo famra sister wewi
kwa ase won so a Ghana ni bi dabo ya eno wo e wo Savannah mantam ni mu na yeso the electoral commission for court akogina supreme court ade ya wo chese limited registration exercise na ekoso no unse ese be no online registration okwa abefo computer no so na afi wa ye bibia kama register na no na opanyi ede atodwase da bida sa na ensefata ase no na yenyimu bi a be kokora de atia sabi wonu afi na ombetwe wondin ene enkurasefo no esa se nipa de do no ano online registration wo mu ehu so esa se yisi kase they say the limited registration exercise no wo no online registration na emwa enam so ama say nipa ode asemi court no Oma Ayuba aha wono ene de yisi fo akokot ni se wo mu yesa etia mra na sanso mpo etietie bi no fa ahodie so titiri wonu afno ombetwe wondin ene se bi yenuanom enkurasefo yi na o se kane deputy attorney general and minister of justice Dominic ayini wono ene ekogina Oma Ayuba anemu e wo court wonu na afi wadi ede amano
Warrior Diamfa Daily Statesman, CPP National Chairman resigns and Commerce Party strategizes to regain glorious past. Page 2 of the Daily Statesman. The National Chairman of the Convention People's Party, CPP, Professor Edmond Dele, has resigned from his position as well as from active politics. In an interview with the Daily Statesman yesterday, James Kwabena Bonfe, the acting secretary or acting general secretary of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's CPP said the resignation comes at a time when the party is putting in place strategies to redeem its lost glory in Ghanaian politics. Mr. Bonfe had earlier issued a statement explaining that Professor Dele had resigned from the CPP chairmanship or had resigned the CPP chairmanship following the ancestral call to lead his people as the paramount chief of the Nandom traditional area. Now, 2 accused in Tripoli clashes jailed. Lak Nanyum and Nablik Zaglik, 2 of the 7 suspects arrested in connection with the conflict between Concobes and Chokses in Tripoli and Saboba, have been sentenced to 5 years imprisonment each after pleading guilty to charges of possessing firearms without lawful authority. The remaining 5 pleaded not guilty and have been remanded in prison custody to reappear in court on June 7. The 7 accused were yesterday arraigned before the Tamale High Court, presided over by His Lordship Richard Kojo Power. An eighth man is on admission at the Tamale Teaching Hospital and the guard having suffered a gunshot wound. 5 other suspects who were arrested earlier in connection with the renewed violence were also taken to court on May 22. 1 of the 5 suspects was released on bail while the remaining 4 were remanded in police custody.
Also for Daily Statement, the Bokata no enie na katafun etoso miensa mienu ene demo aircraft. Na no anababeto just a national chairman Emma Convention People's Party CPP amanyoko I want Professor Edmond Dele. Ayade say they were run nemu paboa efisa di bread de amano no ehu. That's why resign. And what you crampo no amanyosama nkasa npo wose we yi ne ho ede efiri mu. No ni Daily Statement central phone komotwetwe mu no. James Kwabena Bonfe one kasa ye no one acting general secretary ye Kwame Nkrumah CPP mu. Na no anodi tu just say de say eye opanyi wo yi ne hu firi mu na akwa se ne ma bebre eyade a ebeke achi sabre ya wo mu etotu ne ma yi ama CPP gyan na so no na wono nso so se wo yi ne hu afiri mesa de a ne ma no emwo papa na opanyi ncheche mu no de ato just de bi da nye se bi aburo bi no wo ye ne mom no okodi hene ane eyade a person okosum ne manfo kakra kwa paramount chief for man hene awo Nandom traditional area ho nti eno otu sa anamoe na katafe to so mienu krono ano no de aba Lak Numyom na afe na Blik za leak wo mu mienu eka nipa enso asese yache wo mu ni nyina ne se kokomba na afe chokosi ɛyɛ kyerepɔne ɛne saboba entokwa ne mentim wasa na ɛkɔso no aha wo mu ɛka ho bi sɛ nipa enum ɛyɛ ade a yɛde wo mu ɛkɔ afiase ne nyina ne sɛ wo mu agye atum sobo ade bo wo sɛ no mu kitakita etuo ɛwɔ abrɛmra ɛma ho kwan no wonom agye atum ɛsɛ yɛ no kromu di ho fɛ nam so ama wo manum asɛm akasa no yɛgyina so ama yɛde wo mu ɛkɔ afiase na saa enipa num bi nso no ɛyɛ ade a wo mu do mu so mu nifo wo mu do mu so mu nifo ne sent no yɛse yɛmfo mu sankosie yɛmfo mu enkohyem nyame yɛ adoma June de toso enso yenyi wo mu MP na o masenie no yento aso nipa enso yin enra yedo mu kogina Tamale High Court na eye his lordship Richard kojakpa wono ena etena adwamu se presiding judge atesensemi wo mu eto adwan na nipa enwotwe nso wo kyerese admission yedo makogu Tamale Teaching Hospital atese abambofo gire dwomo serebe o mu enwane wo mu nso etuo ni bi ene kan wonom atese ni no de ho nsam abadeli statement the broadcaster nefa etosu mienu.
Where we the finder open your defense court orders. The Commercial Division of the High Court in Accra has directed 5 persons accused of causing financial loss of $4 million to the state to open their defense. The order follows the dismissal of a submission of no case filed by lawyers of the 5 accused persons. They are accordingly expected to open their defense on May 30, 2019. The trial judge, Justice Adekye Nsroma, held that the prosecution was able to establish a prima facie case which requires the accused persons to give some explanations to enable the court to get a clearer picture. Citing various authorities and evidence adduced in court to buttress the court's decision, the trial judge held that the accused persons, except upon, were public officers at the time the alleged offenses were committed. Justice Nsroma held that the prosecution laid sufficient evidence to warrant the court's decision to invite them to open their defense. Yakoko Tidia Maminka, good morning, Enche, His Lordship Justice of the Land Court 5, Justice Anochijima. Good morning, sir. NIA has over 30 million forms in stock. Management of the National Identification Authority says it has over 30 million forms in stock and therefore supplies adequate numbers to each registration center for the exercise. The authority said it came to the attention of management of NIA that prospective applicants at some registration centers were being told that there were no national identity card application forms or oath of identity forms at those centers. A statement signed by Assistant Comptroller of Immigration, Mr. Francis Pamdeti, the head of corporate affairs at NIA, said there were enough forms in stock to register every Ghanaian at home and abroad. And yako NIA so ye mama ne se ene impunimpo ye ne Professor Ken Atifa ya onuni siwa woda NIA na no ene bebo mpunimpo enti ebedi nkomo bibia ya efa NIA eho no enu ne bebu sei se yeso momanfo na ye process eguso nti ye be hwese betimi bia mo na tomo na mukosa ba kwa na mienu bi no ye bisa na mama na mama kwan amamo ebisa enti ene mpunimpuno yeshia Professor of Criminology na so sesi e wohwe ama ena yakoso lawyer ni mapa Prof Kenatifa wono ene ne bebo mpunimpo ne I will be talking NIA Ghana card Sefia
yo
yenko
I was for the finder the bokata no ene de airto so katafan toso mienu ene de mo aircraw na eno na National Identification Authority NIA omo no mo register mo twetwe din de Ghana card na maye no Ghana card na asase no na no no de atodwa se ukọ eye ba bi etwetwe din na etimi di tudwa se forms no asa forms ni bi ni honom na no panyin de atodwa se wo mo wo eye 30 million forms e wo honom achese no wo mo de kokoko eye registration center ba bi di ntwa no koso bia the sense no enya no kreda esa forms no ukoko no mu a yesi asa da bi bebre e wo ho pa the sense manfo
ahoto omuko mu si ahoto en hoto
ye yesi 30 million e wo honum achese de kokoko ba bi di ntwa no ekoso the sense no enya ade ho aye den se de binum etumi ka kire woni a ebeturo di no na no anode atodwa se National Identity Card application forms and an oath of identity forms no ni nyina ebigu ho chaw ni nyina no omudi be ko ba bi edi ntro no ekoso no na sansemi Assistant Controller of Immigration ICE Owura Francis Pamdeti one in the two ja one na head of corporate affairs Emma National Identification Authority what are this answer me to John and all candidate on nyina ne forms no bebre wo honom ate se Ghana ni bia wo benya bi e de atwe din dia man even mom wo abrochire kra no bebre egu honom e de ma wo mu a e de betwetwo mu ni sense nya de ho ye den e na nya de a e ho nso be ye den eda Katafa tosumienu krono a hono so commercial division Emma High Court Accra wonom ede ato empanyufo enum ayabo omo so bo se $4 million womo aye no wonwuran womo adibi womo amoman ahwere se sika no wo de ato sampanyufo nim se omo ko opi omo difference se de be ya wo betuma hu se de niema esiko ewo asem no emu na saa odai wo kire se ebaye esan se lawyer Naija wo di saa asem echi ama sampanyufo num no wo se ne submission na o de koye no ye boguye eno enenam so ama high court dia ba se saa dia ene omu open defense wo fro kra na afi yen omunya clear picture of the case na omu hu ba bia asem no betumi dia fa na o chese defense no mu ko open no 30th May afi emu eno betumi ede aye na tragedy no aye Owura Justice Eric Chebaafo wono eneja prosecution nyina no wono waje esi nyina so na o si we no ebetumi aboa ema prima facial case was a lawyer for no
if you okay sa case ya Owura Eugene Bafo Boni eni nipa bi no ana kane wo mo ye mpanyifo mo da NCA National Communication Authority ano enam mo sa so minor sika no
$4 million
good say e wo court na ebre aba no apani akobɔ ni nkuro na waka na asem ede ni nyina so ne nsem nyina ne kwadu akono ena enipa numui Owura Bafo Boni ena ye first defendant no wo mu koka che court wo mu so anu yi wo mu de ko ye ne se aban de no woka no produgra da asem no woka no mo ni nyina so bia wa boni sem no wakeka ka asem ti court bo aban sem ni guna ka che ne se oni nyina so enti enipa num na lawyer for ko no mu se no case ena judge ni tina se hwa asem na no so de marathon no se there bi aban wo case enti me hye mu se mu fama no yi mra eno ne OP defense no de yede agu suo no kwadu yede agu suo no wo wa no ye men kasa aban ka hodo rada sem enti mu fama no yi mra enti wa hye wo mu so mu fama no yi mra eno no wa mo wo mu se webe
prema hwan
se wo mu de o ma no yi ne kwa eno na ebe ma court na hu se ampa enyina so wo ho enyo mo no beka se enyina so ni ho ana enyina so ho ma no yie no ene bebo ama Papa George ehu se enyina so wo ho adanse nie enti ne prima fashion no enua eni
ene ma me lawyer wa wudi akogu nti enko foforo so
dache ma me lawyer afa dache ne kan ho yeah call the Ghanaian Times say mu na emra page 18 de ne ye kan ho asem no. Danger looms at Kwame Nkrumah interchange as illegal bus terminals spring up close to rail track. The sighting of unauthorized buses terminals close to the railway track at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange in Accra is posing danger to drivers, passengers and pedestrians. Additionally, noise from loudspeakers mounted at the terminals impedes hearing of the request for drivers to stop vehicles and pedestrians to give way for passing trains. The Accra area engineer of the Ghana Railway Company, Mr. Zafinat Akufo, Zafinat Akufo raised a concern when the Ghanaian Times contacted him on Tuesday on why the company was looking unconcerned and allowing illegal structures to be erected close to the rail track. The GRC's regulation, which read in part that structures along the rail line should be 50 meters away to avoid any harm to human lives. But the story is the opposite at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange. Na repe na moka cars nyina kra wo cars na nkasa ye sanfo ama wo ma fefo cars e ya semu Ghana yenko
yo abusanfo Ghanaian Times the bokrata no ne de etwa so katafa to so edu watch page 18 ho no ene de mo ekro na wo hwa wono mu a wo chese wudru Kwame Nkrumah circle ye Kwame Nkrumah interchange wono mu a railway track wono mu no ade ekoso ho no me sabe so abofo no ni nyina ne se bus stations akodo mrama kwan se be ko ho no mu no they say the adobafo ado mo pe ayesa bus terminal yi wo ho no me nam so ama se de adwiye pa e de adroba fo ne passenger fo nkwa nyina to asan mu e wo hono menam so ama ode ho nsam aba na no e no de atu dwase woni etwa kwa mu kura woni enam kwa ho kura mpo na yade amu so e de omo nkwa atu asan mu bi wo kire se wudu okra na eye loudspeakers ya bie ni se hu ana chese nyuma kese ana bogu wo honom chese odu a wo ntehwe ni sense no sa ben kura na po se ka ben kura ye bo chese ade a wo nte ana se eye train kura nso etwamu a senkeja enam dede ni nti a passenger for anampo a driver for numpo wo mu hu po se train etwam esan sa ben bo pun kura wo ntehwe na chese ya ade a ni nyina no emwa esan se do manfo nkwa na ato asemu pa na esansemi eye Accra area engineer Emma Ghana Railway Company Ora Zavanat Akufu wono na de sansemi tu eye Ghana Times samtwerofo animu na Ghana Times samtwerofo na nkasa no wo mu ko busa empanyufo se mema ya aban mamadwuma kama na dan na mama kwan ama nkrofo de mpatadan illegal structures ahodo ba besisi eye rain track iso amaye hwe hansa munya hwe fa ho na kwatotwe sansemi wo nyina ba ya eye bus terminus ahodo ya na mbrama ho kwan ya enam so edi nkrofo nkwan to asan mu nyina no ho nsam epiepie yeah so kan ba ko kan ho ana
no de me kan ya no ntia di today weekend today bewie who is holding locked up funds of customers and you be ho page 3. Weekend today understands that many indigenous financial institutions have faced liquidity challenges over the years due to their willingness to finance the activities of contractors, also mostly indigenous entities in the areas of energy and infrastructure of all types. Indeed, it was a result of that the liabilities on the energy field nearly collapsed GCB and others. That was the reason the central government put up ESLA, an energy bond, to salvage the situation. However, this paper has learned that over the past couple of years, facilities extended to indigenous contractors for state-sponsored housing, roads, bridges, education, etc. have become problematic. This has precipitated acute liquidity crisis for finance houses, banks and fund managers who pre-finance such projects, but unfortunately no organized solution has been found and no bond either. It must be pointed out that the deal was set up earlier this year through Fidelity Bank for some contractors to sell their government project receivables to that bank at a discount. That deal has in fact left many asking very legitimate questions, including why that bank? How was it selected? Through sole sourcing? And is the government that couldn't pay the contractors now able to pay Fidelity Bank? So it's asking, Sikano or Waimoho?
I was on phone, Sikano or Waimoho, dear, and a weekend crusading. Crusading. Look, weekend today. Weekend today. Wamodiania day, sorry, so. Now, Nefer Tosumi and Son, and Obusa Sikano, Waiho. Ena wo ena akwakose na no na weekend today some trofo my yemu wo mu HSS say de wo hwe eye financial institutions na mre bi atwamu a enche kura na yade o musika sam koye basa o muni sika wo koyi usika kura na chese ho aba asam ni ade a chese nam so ama aban ye nhye bi ekowi asempo banks ni bi ogu no na bi nso kekambo mu na no ena wo chese say de enam se eye contractors ahodwa wo memu no wo musika sam ni ade abano enye nadwen so befa ho kade akakam wo betua na afen so ada institutions ahodo musika ni ade abano entuent ni nyina na aka ho bia man so ma se de sika na bopo na hyekono ma sika ebi ma bonten na yenya bi emfa enye eniema wo de no to nche ye energy ho sansam ni ade wo se ni aka ketewa bi kwanka GCB kwampo ke collapse yenke guye adam so wo de ho nsam aba na o chese eye central bank no mu nyina mu ni me ba sa no to niema yie pa me ko wiase bank ya na nka ja ho nsam ya de ja ye go no wo keke bi bomu a chese nam so ama se de niema eltoye kakra no o se contractors yentu omuka aban emfa ne nsa enhye so mudwumadi ase one financial activities ahodo no ni na community na sikai abopo enam so amakromu ayedene
yebeda se why ade ne hwan na dom wo hye watare fefefe
Justy Fashion
Okay.
Omo ewo jowulu me da omase oma hemata de kama ena afi eye Living God Salon omo nso ewo Tabora Alaji Asanto Amiti ona ye da omo nyina ase
Abisa for ya dan ho akwaba dan ho koba na Friday enti ebekomukase se yankomukase kra still ye beka apomuden ho asem ye we apomuden ho asem na fe ye ne prof Kenatifa abompunipo na ye di NI Ghana card ho enkomo wani die mu atwen ye dan ho abasisia